Hey all, welcome back to my YouTube channel ArtsyyMahi. So if you're new to my channel, all you need to know about me is I'm a graduate in data science. I worked in corporate for 1.5 years. Later then I quit and I found my calling in creative fields. I still am figuring out which area I want to settle down in this creative. Meanwhile, I started a small business where I sell my clay charms, canvas paintings, and portraits, and also handmade canvas boards. So you can check out my Instagram if you want to know more details about my store. And let's get into today's video, which is homemade clay. It is also called as cold porcelain clay. Let's look at the measurements and start making the clay. So quickly take a screenshot of the ingredients and the process. So I'm just adding all the ingredients to the same pan that I'm going to cook. So who needs to clean again? It's better you do the same thing because you don't waste any product, and also it's easy to clean because the clay after cooking it comes right off the pan. So I bought this non-stick pan and I just dedicated it only for making the clay. And if you are doing this as a business, I would recommend you to buy a separate pan for making clay, and do not use your cooking utensils to make the clay. If you're doing just as a hobby, you can use your cooking pan, but you should make sure you clean it very nicely. If you're someone who's not familiar with cooking, you should have an adult or someone who knows how to cook beside you. If you're doing this for the first time, don't expect the clay will turn out perfectly, because for the first 3 times I tried to make this clay, it was such a big failure. It was dry, it was overcooked. So before you start making the clay, I would recommend you to watch this video at least twice, and you should start with a clean surface, a clean pan, a clean spatula. And it's better to have a spatula because you don't have to waste any product. And make sure everything, the space you are going to need the clay and everything including the stove is clean. And try not to wear woolen clothes and clothes that have a lot of lint and dark colored clothes. I'm telling you all this because I've been there, done that, overcooked the clay, not using the clean pan, so avoid all this. After adding all the ingredients together, I'm just mixing it vigorously to make sure there are no lumps left in it. It has to have this batter consistency. Always choose the smallest burner on your stove while cooking the clay and keep it in the sim always. You don't have to keep it in high. It might take you 5 to 7 minutes to cook the clay completely. It will all come together and stick to the spatula at the end. Personally, I don't have a microwave, so I started with the stove. Now that I have a microwave, but I still use the stove because I have so much control with the clay. It's better to use the stove. I'm just continuously mixing the clay, scraping off the corners. See, you can observe that the clay is coming together. Always keep mixing. You don't want to overcook the clay because it's better to have undercooked clay. Look at there. It is coming together. It is not sticking to the pan. So I want to tell you the stupid things I made while making this clay while I was starting out. The recipe told I should add lemon juice, so I added the lemon juice instead of vinegar. It was in the recipe. No, I didn't make it up. But the clay got molded within 1 week and I had to throw away the whole clay. Avoid that. This clay has a tendency to turn yellow, so that's why we add white acrylic paint. So I was using my brain a little too much. I thought if I add purple or violet acrylic paint, it would cancel out the yellow and it will be more whitish. So I added a tiny bit of violet acrylic paint to it. After cooking the clay, there are few black dots here and there, clearly visible. I can't use that clay for my business or any charms that I make, but I still manage to use that clay when I practice my charms. Like if I take a order of creating dog or a human figurine, I want to practice first. I use that clay to practice, so I don't waste the clay, because in Indian household we don't waste anything. You can see that the clay is coming together slowly. We can find plain corn flour and corn flour mixed with rice starch in market. Avoid that. Just use the corn flour, because I didn't check the label and I did use the corn flour mixed with rice starch and the clay ended up being very sticky. And I'm not sure if I can use the clay, because what if the clay charms are molded after making them or after glazing them? What a waste of time and waste of glazing. So I was telling about how I added violet acrylic paint to the clay mixture, right? So instead of adding acrylic paint, I thought I should add food color to it so that mixing wouldn't be any problem. So I made sure I added the tiniest little bit, not even a single drop, just a touch to the spatula, and the whole mixture turned into light violet color, and I couldn't use it. I had to make the whole batch into the colored clay. So I felt like the clay was heating too much, so I had to take it away and mix it together, and I brought it back again. And I also have to tell you my experience with colored clay. So it was such a good idea making colored clay, it would be very easy. So what the mistake I did was I mixed 2 cups of clay, 2 cups of Fevicol, and kept it aside. I was taking a little and mix a particular color, complete it, knead it, heat it, and everything. So while the time this clay batch, whole white batch was aside, it was resting and the cornflour particles absorbed the moisture, and when I added the color like food color to it, it also absorbed the food color, and the cornflour particles were dark. In simple words, the brown color clay looked like chocolate chip cookie dough, and it was not just with the brown color, it was with all the colors that I made except for the first color that I made because the clay was not resting. So if you are trying to make colored clay, make sure you don't rest it and mix it together in the pan. Don't give it any time to rest. It's not food that you eat, it doesn't need to ferment, so just cook it, don't do it like me. Looks like the clay is finally done, it stopped sticking, so we should just take it off the gas. So now the hardest part, kneading the clay, because we have to do it while it is still piping hot with our bare hands. If you have sensitive hands, I recommend you to ask someone else to do it. I feel like if you wear the gloves, you don't understand when it's done. It's also not that too hot. So you should keep on adding corn flour and mixing the clay until it becomes slightly not sticky to your hand, and it also passes the teardrop test. I really hope you have worked everything correctly and your clay turned out to be really nice. If you have any comments before starting out, please do comment. I will be online. I will try to answer it as soon as possible. I'm suffering with cold, that's why I sound this horrible. I usually don't sound this. I sound so sweet. I've kneaded the clay for almost 10 minutes. It's a huge arm workout. Now it's time for us to store the clay. I simply make the clay into a log shape. You can make it in any shape you want. Just cover the surface with the oil that you used before so that it wouldn't dry out soon, and just roll it in the cling film. I feel like I've told you all of my experience while making this clay. I have so many more experiences while working with this clay. I am planning to make a video on it. If you have any doubts about it, also do comment about it. I'm planning to make a next video about that. I'm just repeating the same process because I have made so much of clay. I had to divide it into 2 pieces. You can divide it into how many pieces as you want. Here's our finished clay after so much of work. I recommend you to store it in a Tupperware container. Thank you for watching my video till the end, and I hope you succeed in your first try itself. Do share this video to your friends who are interested in crafts and making clay and interested in clay medium. Don't forget to subscribe and like, share this video, and follow me on Instagram. Till then, bye. See you in my next video.